Alrighty guys, I'm just going to get straight into this video. So if you didn't hear, there's a new Flashpoint coming out called the Crisis on Ibarra. It might actually already be out just depending on when you're watching this video. But if you didn't know, there's going to be a master mode, of course, of this new Flashpoint. And one thing that caught my eye and a lot of other people's eyes is that they are requiring, for at least a group finder, I say like way to actually join the master mode Flashpoint, they're requiring a 242 rating. Now that's a semi-high rating when it comes down to this current patch at level 70. And I mean, this got a lot of people's attention because a lot of people are wondering if this Flashpoint is going to be insanely difficult, or what the plan is. Now this is going to be kind of like looking at two sides of kind of like my opinions and views on it, because obviously if you're watching this video, it might already be out, and some stuff may be false in this video, but the basic premise is still going to obviously be here. So the first thing is, if the Flashpoint is incredibly difficult, then the gear rating of course is implemented just to try to clear out some people, since gear can be used as kind of like a, I say kind of like a little safe, I would say like guard, since I mean if you have a higher gear rating and you have like higher gear for stuff, if you make some mistakes it can kind of like save you when you actually screw up, whereas if you have low gear rating you can make some mistakes and it can cost you. But a lot of people seem to be irritated by this, just of the fact that the gear rating is pretty high, and a lot of people aren't sure if this Flashpoint is going to be incredibly difficult. So, in my opinion, if this Flashpoint's like up to the standards of Lost Island Hard Mode before it got like nerfed to Oblivion and they nerfed everything, just basically when Lost Island Hard Mode launched, I feel like it's a very smart thing. Obviously, you can go into the group finder when you actually don't have the group finder rating. Essentially, if you get 4 people together, you can just go into the actual Flashpoint. You don't need to really worry about the gear requirement. But still, at the same time, I feel like this is something that should be addressed, or rather, we should kind of see more of this stuff. Because if it turns out this Flashpoint is incredibly difficult, then the gear rating is, obviously there for a reason. That's really helpful because it obviously tells that, they are working on more difficult content. But at the same time, if this ends up not being crazy difficult, and this is just kind of like a gear rating because BioWare thinks that gear equals, experience, then I don't really know what to say. Because, I mean, to be honest, this could be the case of, BioWare just trying to keep people, I say it's trying to keep people that are new to the game out of something, or, players that aren't quite experienced yet out of something. Or it could be a case of them, pandering to people where they're like, oh, hey, if you play the game enough, or if you do all these crazy operations, you got to get this gear, and then you can just queue for it in the group finder. Now, I mean, once again, this isn't that big of a deal to many players, because obviously you can group up without actually, you can basically get a pre-made and do it. But if they continue to have Flashpoints in different group content where a gear requirement is required for like group finder and stuff, then we need to kind of like see what kind of difficulty in the way they are scaling things. I feel like they should be more like open about this topic, because based on what I've seen on the forums, even though the Flashpoint isn't out just yet, a lot of people are kind of like surprised, because this could be a good turn for the game, or it could be a bad turn for the game. Because I know that there are a lot of players that want to, sometimes they just like go in the morning, they just want to kind of like go through the group finder, just click on it, just go through all their like master mode Flashpoints and stuff. Because I know that there are people that actually do that right there. And normally, there's like recommended gear ratings, it wasn't like really enforced. But since they are enforcing a gear rating now for the group finder, at least for this Flashpoint, it kind of makes me wonder what their plan is for just everything else. Because I really don't want this game to turn into a game of, if you have gear in the group finder, then you join, and if you don't, then oh well. Now, I'm not saying that obviously, if it's a crazy hard Flashpoint, they expect you to have high gear, that's an issue, like it's not an issue. Like, I mean, they should obviously have like a gear requirement or something, because I really wouldn't, I guess say like if this is actually pretty difficult, I don't think they want players in there that are like basically new level 70s just going straight into the group content. But I still feel like, they kind of have to kind of like find a little balance in between the two, instead of just like kind of saying, oh hey, we're having a gear requirement, but we're not explaining why. We're also just saying, it may be a bit more difficult, but you aren't really like showing it. Now, I know I've been going in circles obviously with all these little topics here, but the main thing I'm really just trying to point out is if this ends up being a Flashpoint that is pretty difficult, and they just decide to do more things like this, then they should try to communicate it a bit better, at least in my opinion. because if this ends up being a flashpoint that is just, you know, slightly more difficult, or it's like, oh hey, you know, you have more HP, then that equals good, then I really don't know what to say. Because I don't want this to become, because obviously, you know, with Star Wars: The Old Republic, they made it a lot easier for essentially players that are just getting into it. They made group content, they made everything a lot more simpler. Just so basically, if a player wants to jump into the game, they're going to have, you know, insanely easy mode. I hope this doesn't turn into like that kind of thing where they expect you to have gear, and the gear basically equals like your skill. I really don't... you know, I think they're obviously not like thinking like that, but I still feel like, you know, just based on the vibe I'm getting, just like not having like a recommended gear requirement, just like saying, you know, you need to have this gear like set in stone. I just really don't know how to feel about it. And obviously, a lot of people will obviously, you know, disagree with me, just be like, oh hey, you know, it isn't out yet, just wait for it. I mean, once again, I feel like this video can still apply even if it, you know, it ends up being the case where it's really easy or really difficult. Because once again, I feel like it's good, you know, like a little topic right here. Because if the game turns into one thing where, you know, it's just a bunch of easy stuff, or it turns into like a bunch of crazy hard stuff where stuff is like set in stone for gear, I feel like it can irritate some of the player base, but it also can make them very happy. I mean, I for one would love to have a bunch of, you know, harder group content in the game, as do like many players. But just by like adding a gear requirement, I feel like it sets some players off. Or just kind of like has some people just kind of like thinking the wrong idea. But anyways, guys, that's all I really wanted to say with this little topic video. I do apologize since I know I kind of like went all over the place and I was just going around in circles. But still, once again, I felt like this was kind of like a good topic to discuss, since I know that a lot of people have varying, you know, opinions on it. And I'm 100% okay with that. I just kind of wanted to just throw down some of my thoughts in like little collections of things when I actually saw this announcement of a gear requirement for the group finder. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little video. As always, if you guys enjoy these videos, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.